Let's go on a little adventure on Sanibel Island, which is my favorite place in the world and probably yours too. Here we go. Here I am at Sanibel Beach Park. You can see my bike that I'm riding today sign, and somewhere in the background here is the lighthouse. Ah, there. I'm not driving my bike in the sand just to get that close to the lighthouse, but my goal today is to go from the south end of Sanibel to the north end. Not exactly climbing K2, but for me it'd be a fun ride, and we'll see how it goes. So join me along the ride. Well, it looks like the first several minutes of this video I had the camera lens pointed the wrong direction. So you had a very nice view of the handlebars. So sorry about that. Anyway, so the video is now going to restart from here, because I doubt you want to watch 7 minutes of handlebars. Now that was a relatively large downhill for here. Since I live in the Ozarks, it's really weird to me to see these long flat stretches. I kind of noticed it when we got down here in our car and we drove. And let's see, they've got a traffic controller here today. Okay. Two things Sanibel does not have is traffic lights and street lights. The street lights we could do without. I think the traffic lights, they're really past a point where they should have some traffic lights, at least two of them. But I think it's in part of the culture of the island not to have them. I guess I'm paying a guy or gal, often a gal, to do all that traffic management over a year. Or just 2 or 3 years, probably pay for a basic traffic light. But anyway, like I said, part of the culture, part of the charm. But this part of Periwinkle is where most of the shopping, a lot of the businesses are, a lot of restaurants. And there's a lot still that is available, because as you might guess, a lot of businesses closed after Ian. Periwinkle Park here is a mobile home park that was completely destroyed in Ian, and now it's reopened and they're selling lots again, putting homes on them. But they have one thing they're militant about there, is no dogs. It's even on the sign, the welcome to Periwinkle Park, no dogs in all caps. So I'm not sure what that's about. Not sure that would hold up if someone had a legitimate service dog. Because normally when you see no dogs, it says except service animals. Nope, not them. No dogs, all caps. I think it's even on their website, on the Facebook page, and all the things. More places for sale or lease. So I did look up the house listings, and they're up a third over last year. Keep in mind, Ian has been a few years now. I want to say 4, could be off, plus or minus. Is all. Record amount of property for sale here on the island. A lot of people are saying that's because the Canadians aren't coming to Florida like they normally do because they hate Trump. Not going to make a political opinion about that either way. It's just the word. Those are both e-bikes. Definitely not Class 1 e-bikes, which is what you're supposed to have on Sanibel. Now my e-bike can be reprogrammed to be Class 1, 2, or 3. So it can be compliant. Biker gang! Once we get past Periwinkle, we'll get to a more, I guess you'd call it rural space. You won't see so many bikes. There's a golf course off to the left, if you can see it. After Ian subsided, there were thousands and thousands of fish littering the golf course. As you can imagine, fish, heat, sunlight, it stank to high heaven for a while. But there were much bigger things to worry about than fish on a golf course nobody could use shortly, for quite a while. Thank you. Yeah, it's a serious fisherman. Love it. Oh, there's the bookstore. We need to stop there later. Looking for a specific book. One thing I really like about Sanibel is there are almost no chains. There's a few, like 7-Eleven. CVS, maybe a couple of others. But to date, believe it or not, there's no Starbucks on the island. I'm not sure how that's happened, but I'm quite happy with that because there are locally owned coffee shops. But that's part of the charm of Sanibel to me. There's a lot of small businesses, each with their own take. Oh, 2 more e-bikes. And most small business owners aren't rich. They're generally earning a living, especially in a touristy place like this. Just earning a living. You know, the brake cables are flopping around. I'm not sure if it was in screen or not. I think I've got that sorted out now. If it was, sorry about that. The cafe in here is a nice little traditional breakfast cafe. It's good. Cheeseburger, cheeseburger. We've had mixed results with. Seems to be issues with enough staff and service, and my opinion for quite a few years in business has been labor is something you compete for. There's a cost to it, and when the cost goes up, if you want to be competitive, you have to follow the market. When insurance goes up, it's not generally wise to give yourself less insurance. Gas and energy prices go up. There might be room to trim a hair or two, but you don't just start wholesale cutting. And I think maybe Panera Bread has learned that lesson. As I was reading recently that they had gone through and cut the quality of their products, had done a bunch of staff cuts, and of course sales went up. They had a very short-term bump until people figured out I couldn't get help and I wasn't getting what I used to pay for. And my favorite, I think, of all time is Circuit City, where some genius decided that their well-paid sales staff wasn't really doing anything, so got rid of them and crashed the whole company, which it never recovered from. Not sure what the deal is here. I've never been in there. There's Lions Club and a couple other groups, so I think they do charity programs there. It's a nice little kids park. A couple more e-bikes. You can always tell an e-bike because there has to be someplace a battery goes. There's a fat spot. Like my e-bike, it's incorporated into the frame. For the most part, just makes it look like a heftier bike, but it's a very fat section of frame. Like those two we just went by, I don't know if you could see it, but they just had batteries attached to more of a traditional frame. And this is Fenneman's bike rental. Like I said, if I was renting bikes, that's where I get it. Billy's, in my experience anyway, hasn't maintained them as well. I think both places provide repair services if you need your bike worked on. I don't mind taking. There's a coffee shop. I'm gonna stop. Here we go. I have no way of really seeing what this video is capturing very much of it, so this may be shit, but maybe not. We'll see. To the left is where Bailey's used to be. by far the oldest grocery store on the island, was completely destroyed in the hurricane. Thankfully, there was also Jerry's Grocery, which was built elevated and survived relatively unscathed. Had some roof damage, water damage from that. But they were up and running really quickly, which was kind of a salvation to the community and, frankly, to the tradespeople that were rebuilding the island. Bailey's will be back, and they've got a smaller store now, and I might stop there and take a break. That's the bit of Bailey's. We have a French beach trail. I didn't know that. That's one thing about riding a bike is you see more. I just want to pull in here as I'm looking for gas without ethanol. There are those that would disagree with me, but I think it's way better for engines that don't have not putting ethanol in it. All gas contains 10% or less. All gas. Excuse me, got a question for you. Is there any place that sells gas without ethanol in it on the island?
Not on island. The closest place that I knew that last did it was you go off island. There's keep going straight, and you'll see a big shopping mall on the right, shopping plaza with the Publix and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
John Morris Road there. There's a Circle K or something there.
Okay.
They used to sell it.
Okay.
I don't know if they still do.
Okay.
That was the closest place I knew
Okay.
of.
Well, how do you power your boat engines? Because those usually don't like ethanol.
So they're fine nowadays.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't the engines. It was the hoses and stuff.
Okay.
The lines that were the problem.
Yeah.
The Sanibel Marina sells non-ethanol boat fuel, but they're not going to sell you a can of it. I found that the hard way.
And I'm sure that's like $1 million a gallon too.
Yeah. But
yeah.
Once we switched, even with when we did the switch, there was no issue.
You've been fine.
They tell you don't want to go back and forth between the two of them.
That makes sense.
So we have a boat that lives in the water. That one we take to the marina and get non-ethanol fuel.
Yeah.
But nowadays, all the modern engines can handle it. And all the fuel lines have been upgraded. That was the big problem. Was the fuel lines would the gum basically.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So I mean, I think we may have had an issue when we first made the switch years ago, but since then we just go to the nearest gas station to fill them up.
All right, makes sense. All right, thanks. Yep. Thanks. Have a good day.
You too.
Well, that was interesting and informative. What I have found for vehicles like my car. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so 2 miles to the education centers. That'll be where I'll stop for a break and some water and some electrolytes. I think I'll take the detour through there. Path's a bit bumpier, a little heaving. A lot of that's left over from Ian, I'm sure. Not sure how good you can see it, but there's a huge section of dead trees. They do tend to be in clumps. But a year ago, the foliage even along the road here was pretty brown, pretty sad looking. But this is, to the right, it's all part of the refuge. Hi. There's a bit of Bailey off to the right. I think I'll stop there on the way back. I want to get up to the refuge at the visitor center and take a break there. I think we're just about there. Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge. In case you don't know, Ding Darling was a political cartoonist. I think he was out of the Des Moines Register. And very politically connected. He became, I believe, the first head of the Department of the Interior. And used those powers to get a whole bunch of Sanibel Island designated as sanctuary. Over half of the island is protected either by state, federal, or local ordinance or law. All right, so I can find a place in shade and take a little break here. Perfect. All right, break time. Not sure what happened, but my camera quit recording, or I thought I was recording pulling into this trail. But here we are now. This is on the Ding Darling Wildlife Refuge Trail. And I'm not riding back to the start over. Really nice trail. You can walk it, bike it, or drive your car. We've biked it before. Not walked it, not sure I would be interested in walking it. There's another view of those roads. I can't really, the way I have the camera mounted on my bike, it's hard to see what it sees. So hopefully I'm getting what I think I'm getting. This is a tidal basin, so I don't know if you can see it, but the water's flowing in right now. When the tide goes out, it flows out. And it's a refuge. A lot of migratory birds make their way through here. I'm not a birder, so I don't know exactly the cycle on that, but I know a lot of people that are into bird watching will come here during the migratory seasons to catch sometimes very exotic birds. Still on gator watch. You don't see them so much out kind of by the road on these hot days, relatively hot days. It's in the upper 70s. They do tend to come out by the road on the gravel on cold days when they want to get some sun and soak up some heat from the gravel in the blacktop. We came through here last year. This was still kind of brown and sickly looking, even right up against the road. So that's improved a lot. Just on the other side of it, not so great. I'll try and find an opening where I can give you a good view of that. A number of the side trails are still closed. Either stuff in the way or maybe the trails got washed out. One thing I didn't think about on a multi-hour bike ride was sunscreen. I want to loop around to see what that looks like. So there's a ton of this kind of thing throughout the refuge. And when you're looking forward on the island, most of the privately owned properties have been cleaned and cleared. But that's much what the whole island looked like shortly after Ian. And there were two other smaller hurricanes that followed them. Let me check the adjustment on my camera here real quick. I can't see much. Hopefully that's a little broader view. Looks like I'll have some editing to do on this little video. Well, doing that check, I messed up my audio, so I don't think Hollywood's going to be coming to me to do edit videos for them. This is Bowman's Beach on Sanibel, as seen from Turner Beach on Captiva. And it's a beautiful day. And of course, that's Blaine Pass that the bridge goes over. The bridge might be called Blaine Pass, I don't know.